From Perth,
What do we want? Safe rates! When do we want it? Now!
To our nation's capital. Hundreds of truckies hit the road united in convoys today, demanding safer working conditions.
If workers in transport are not looked after, if they aren't paid enough, if they don't have the right terms and conditions, then they die.
The Transport Workers Union is demanding the federal government brings in a safe rates legislation to protect truckies from being overworked and underpaid. They say right now there's no industry body to hold big companies accountable and allow drivers to report disputes and unfair conditions.
This gathering here today is not just about union, it's about this industry. There are employer groups here. There is owner drivers, there's employees.
And we need politicians that actually make our roads safer, make the transport industry safer, and they need to do that. They need to make that a priority.
The union says FedEx wants to bring in a system where drivers will have to deliver 93 packages per day just to make $35 an hour, which they say will cause extra pressure and lead to more deaths on our roads.
What this does is force people to be out there working longer, faster, harder, cutting corners. If they don't have money to repair their vehicles, the maintenance goes down.
The union says the Amazon Flex model, where contract labour is used to deliver parcels quickly and cheaply, is threatening the transport sector.
And we need to stop the Amazon effect that is coming on, where the gig economy employers are racing us further to the bottom.
It's going to spread like a cancer throughout this industry. We need legislation to protect ourselves and protect the community, and so that we can operate safely and make decent living.
Transport workers and employers have agreed that the industry needs reform to ensure fair and safe conditions.
This is a far-reaching pact. It has the clients in the industry, the customers like Coles and Woolworths. It has major transport operators, the industry associations, unions and gig companies, and they're all calling with one voice for the government to put in place an independent body that can inquire into the pressures, the commercial pressures in this industry.
They will be areas that we'll have to do further work on, allowing the Fair Work Commission to set minimum standards to ensure the road transport industry is safe, sustainable and viable.
They're here, the industry is united. I can't wait till the time when the bill comes through this chamber.
A survey of more than 1,000 delivery drivers found around half are earning below minimum wage, with 81% relying on this income to survive. The majority also reported feeling pressure to take risks to get the job done, and some putting their personal safety on the line.
We have to lift standards in this sector. This is a deadly sector. And unless those standards are lifted, that tragedy is going to keep occurring.
Nabin Adhikari delivers food for multiple companies. He's fronting a push from the transport sector to regulate his industry.
Payment on any of the app is not that much. There's no rights for us, nothing at all. We would like to have superannuation definitely, then annual leaves or sick leave.
The big employers here, Uber, DoorDash, also the two major supermarkets, have agreed on new ways to improve safety standards in this crucial sector for gig workers, but also more broadly in the transport industry as well.
The Transport Workers Union hopes the partnership between Coles and Uber Eats will help to lift industry standards and improve entitlements for those who work in the gig economy, like delivery drivers.
Our charter makes sure that they'll be fairly paid and they'll be in safe working conditions.
Both of these companies have signed arrangements with the Transport Workers Union specifically to lift standards for gig workers in the transport economy.
Both Coles and Woolworths support the push from the union for the federal government to legislate better conditions industry-wide.
We want to lift standards in the contractor network, but we also want to work together to find a flexible and sustainable way of driving employment.
But the only way that this becomes sustainable across the market is if the federal government legislates to ensure that there is a minimum floor across this sort of gig transport work.
The Albanese government is now moving to honour its election promise to act, with plans to give the Fair Work Commission new powers to set minimum standards for gig workers.
The only way to deal with this is to have government action. The only way to change the situation for these exploited workers is to use the building that I'm in right now and legislate, and that's what we'll do.
The Transport Workers Union delivering a claim demanding better standards and pay so drivers aren't taking risks to meet razor-thin margins.
This is a national crisis, and it's a national crisis caused by corporate greed.
Greed, the union says, is sending others into liquidation, like trucking company Scott's, which sacked 1,500 workers. John Walters is one of them.
We need people to be held accountable, and accountable in the way that enough's enough.
We need urgent transport reform, and that's got to come from the top. It's got to come from the federal government.
The Transport Workers Union claim Aldi is profiting off the thin margins of operators.
So it's the likes of Aldi that are putting the squeeze on transport companies and drivers and tightening contracts. And what happens is companies go under.
What do we want? What do we want? Now!
Storming Aldi's offices, the Transport Workers Union wants it and other giant retailers like Amazon and Apple to sign a charter to guarantee driver safety and higher pay.
We need companies like Aldi, who are sitting on the top of the supply chain, reaping in all the profits, to come to the table, engage in sensible discussions with us.
They drive the wages in the supply chain to a race to the bottom that causes unsafe behaviour in the trucking industry.
Jobs aren't the only thing at risk.
174 people died on our highways last year in truck fatalities. When will this carnage end?
The federal government has said it will put in place legislation later in the year to deal with this, but in the meantime we need companies like Aldi to step up, sign on and get on with lifting standards.
This government is committed to reform in this space. Blood is on the hands of Aldi, Amazon and other companies at the top of the supply chain operating like them.
A company that has been making huge profits and just don't like the idea that the workers who are doing the hard work in that company get a fair deal.
Well, enough is enough is enough. Now is the time to act. We need this legislation in Parliament so that we can make a difference on the road, we can make a difference to our workmates, and we can save the lives of all Australians.